There is a moment in every human life when something quietly collapses inside. A relationship ends, a dream dissolves, a belief we built our identity upon slips through our fingers. We try to hold on, we tighten our grip, and the more we cling, the more everything begins to hurt. In that silent breaking point, a simple and unsettling question emerges. What if the pain is not in what we lost, but in our refusal to let it go? This is where the discipline of emptiness begins, not as an idea, but as a confrontation with ourselves. Chapter 1. The First Turning. In the forests of ancient India, Siddhartha Gautama sat beneath the Bodhi tree and turned his attention inward. He saw that suffering was not merely in the world, but rooted deep within the human mind, in craving, in attachment, in the desperate attempt to possess what is always changing. The Buddha taught that nothing we cling to can truly remain. Not youth, not praise, not power, not even identity. The path to liberation did not lie in collecting more experiences, but in loosening the knots of attachment that bind the heart to endless dissatisfaction. This was the first turning, the realization that freedom begins where clinging ends. Chapter 2. The Man Who Could Not Let Go. In a modern city, far from temples and monasteries, lived a man named Arjun. He was disciplined, successful, admired, yet every night he lay awake, haunted by a quiet fear that everything he had built could disappear. He clung to status, to recognition, to the image of who he believed he must be. When his company replaced him and the identity he had wrapped himself in vanished, his world shattered. The loss did not destroy him. His attachment to what was already fading did. For months, Arjun wrestled with anger, humiliation, and despair. His mind replayed the past like a broken film reel, searching for someone to blame, for some way to restore what was gone. He thought his suffering came from the event itself, but it came from the invisible chains his mind refused to release. Unable to find peace, he withdrew from noise, distractions, and endless explanations. Eventually, in a quiet corner of a small library, he encountered ancient teachings that spoke to something deeper than his pain. Chapter 3. The Teaching of Emptiness. The texts he read spoke of sunyata, emptiness, not as a void of meaning, but as the ultimate nature of reality. In both Buddhist and Vedantic traditions, emptiness is the recognition that nothing has a fixed, permanent self. Everything arises, changes, and dissolves in an endless flow. The Upanishads spoke of the illusion of identification with roles and possessions, reminding the seeker that the true self is beyond what the mind grasps. The Buddha's words echoed with clarity. What we cling to is impermanent. What is impermanent cannot bring lasting security. Arjun felt as if these teachings were not describing philosophy, but the exact architecture of his suffering. At first, emptiness frightened him. To release attachment felt like losing control, like dissolving into uncertainty. But as he continued reading, he saw that emptiness was not annihilation. It was spaciousness. It was the freedom that appears when we stop forcing life to match our expectations. Emptiness was not the absence of meaning. It was the absence of illusion. Chapter 4. The Practice of Looking Inward. Arjun began to sit in silence each morning, not as an escape, but as an act of discipline. He watched his thoughts rise and fall like waves. He noticed how his mind reached toward the past, toward the identity he once carried, toward the memory of admiration and certainty. In that quiet observation, he discovered that his suffering was not a punishment from the world. It was a habit of grasping that had lived inside him for years. The mind clung even when the object was already gone. He remembered the teachings on samsara, the cycle of suffering fueled by craving and resistance. Every attachment became a chain, and every chain created another lifetime of inner struggle. Through meditation, he began to see that letting go was not an emotional collapse, but a deliberate, courageous act. It required strength, awareness, and a willingness to stand unprotected in reality as it is. Letting go was not weakness, it was mastery. Chapter 5. The Weight of Identity. There was one attachment Arjun resisted more than any other: the belief that he was only valuable when admired. This identity had shaped his decisions, his behavior, and even his relationships. He realized that he had never been protecting his work, he had been protecting his fragile sense of self. In Buddhist psychology, this illusion of a permanent I is the root of suffering. The ego insists on solidity, yet life keeps dissolving it. The Bhagavad Gita spoke of acting without attachment to the fruits of action, doing what is right without demanding validation or reward. Arjun saw that his former life had been built on the opposite principle: effort fueled by fear, discipline motivated by insecurity. Emptiness invited him to act from clarity instead of need. To live not as a performer seeking approval, but as a quiet participant in the flow of life. Chapter 6. The Discipline of Detachment. Detachment did not come easily. There were days when memories flooded his mind, and the urge to reclaim the past felt overwhelming. But like monks who train the mind through renunciation, Arjun chose small inner practices that became non-negotiable. He observed his reactions without feeding them. He practiced silence where he would once have justified or defended himself. He developed the discipline to sit with discomfort without escaping into distraction. Slowly, attachment began to loosen. The world around him did not change, but his relationship to it softened. He no longer fought the impermanence of things. He began to move with it. Detachment revealed not emptiness as nothingness, but emptiness as peace, a spacious awareness where the mind no longer grasps at every thought or emotion that passes through. Chapter 7. The Illusion of Control. One evening, while walking alone, Arjun realized how deeply he had believed that control could protect him. He had arranged his life like a fortress, built of plans, titles, and ambitions. Yet all of it had vanished in a single decision made by others. The teachings on karma became clearer. We may choose our actions, but we are never guaranteed their outcomes. Attachment insists on certainty. Wisdom accepts uncertainty as a law of existence. In that acceptance, a profound stillness emerged. He saw that letting go was not passive resignation. It was the release of illusions that never offered real safety. True strength did not come from controlling life. It came from meeting life without fear when it changes. Chapter 8. The Quiet Awakening. Months into his practice, Arjun noticed a subtle transformation. He was no longer haunted by the loss that once consumed him. He could remember the past without grasping at it. He could look toward the future without trying to force it into shape. In the silence of detachment, he found a deeper form of presence. He understood now why monks renounce not out of rejection of the world, but out of clarity. Renunciation is not the abandonment of life. It is the abandonment of illusions that distort life. Emptiness became his teacher, not as a doctrine, but as a lived experience. Where attachment had once tightened around his heart, there was now space, breath, and quiet strength. Chapter 9. Emptiness in Everyday Life. Arjun learned to bring this awareness into the smallest corners of daily living. He practiced releasing expectations during conversations, work, and solitude. He stopped tying his worth to outcomes, achievements, or approval. Like the teachings of the Upanishads, he began to sense a deeper self beyond roles and shifting circumstances. The discipline of emptiness became a way of moving through the world with humility and clarity. He still acted, still worked, still cared, but without clinging. His actions became offerings rather than negotiations with fate. Suffering did not disappear, but it no longer ruled him. Where craving once built prisons, awareness opened doors. Chapter 10. The Final Turning. Emptiness did not erase his past or erase his humanity. It refined it. Through letting go, he rediscovered a quieter form of dignity, the dignity of one who no longer seeks constant validation from life. The Buddha spoke of nirvana as the extinguishing of the fires of craving and ignorance. In his own small way, Arjun felt the first faint echo of that extinguishing within himself. The discipline of emptiness is not an escape from reality. It is the courage to meet reality without clinging, without illusion, without fear. It asks us to release the identities, expectations, and emotional attachments that silently imprison the mind. And in that release, something unexpected appears. In the end, Arjun did not conquer the world. He learned to stop trying to possess it. He discovered that the deepest strength is not found in accumulation, but in surrender. Emptiness did not take life away from him. It returned him to it, unburdened, awake, and quietly at peace.